What's up, Wizards? It is Dev from the place, joined again by our beautiful friend Powrdragn. Good to see you as always, my
Yeah,
dude. What's
what's up,
going on?
everybody?
Hey, man, today we are getting together to do something we've never done before, but boy, do you guys want us to do it. So that's why we do most of the things we do, is you guys are like,
Yeah,
do this thing. We're like, yeah, that's a good idea. So
dance
we're going
monkeys.
to, we're like, sure. I like to dance. So what we're going to do is look at all the cards that we talked about being a little overrated in Aetherdrift, and we're going to go and see kind of how we did on that end. If you're
I
interested,
don't remember my list, so I feel like I'm gonna get railed on this one. I'd probably miss. Like,
actually, I'm gonna let you know, just no spoilers or anything. But I think we kind of did okay. I think we did
okay,
okay.
all right,
So
good.
nothing. There's a couple things to kind of sweat about, but I think for the most part we did fine. I think you did fine. We'll see about me.
Uh
But
oh.
yeah, but in any case, yeah, we're going to go over all 10 of the cards that we talked. Actually, it was only 9 because we had the same number one
Yeah,
that we talked about for Aetherdrift being a little bit overrated. Maybe you guys are getting a little crazy over these, right? But again, I guess now we can judge that. But in any case, the first card that we talked about being a little bad, maybe it's bad, could be, was your pick, Unstoppable Plan. This was your number 5.
yeah,
This is the thing that untaps all your non-land stuff at the end of the turn. Yeah, you nailed it.
dude. Like, here's the thing. I don't even know if I've seen that show up in Commander decks. And I thought that was the one place it had a shot.
I thought it was
And
surefire commander playable.
and there's been nothing. I mean, like a few things people have like got real quirky on like turn 8, 9, 10, trying to do some crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But really nothing that's been gangbusters. I've only seen it twice in standard, and both times it did nothing for my opponent. I mean, so yeah, like for as much hype as this card had, like pretty much zero play.
Yeah, the card is about $3 right now on, or at least that's what Scryfall has the price aggregate as. So that's not as much as I would have expected for a surefire commander all-star, right? But it just didn't. You're right. It didn't even seem to really take off in that format, and I have seen it precisely 0 times on the arena. I've
And think
probably
about
played
this.
hundreds of games in Aetherdrift Standard, never seen the card.
To interrupt you for a second here, like
Yeah, you're good.
when it came out, it was almost $20 when we were talking about it.
Yep.
You
Card was
can get
hype.
it now for $3 or less on some sites.
Yep. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad deal if you want to sleeve it into your commander deck, but in standard, unless we get Soul Ring in standard or whatever, I'm not really seeing it.
This is one of the things I tell people. Like, anytime somebody tells me, "Oh, this is busted," you can be, I say, "Okay, cool," but what does the deck look like that it's in? I always ask
Right.
that question. Like, sure, we can all make up Magic Christmas Land of something crazy we could do with the card, but what does the deck around it look like? And when people can't give you an answer, or at least more than one person can't give you a reasonable answer, it's probably not that good.
Yeah, it
You
means
know?
something, right? It's like we had remember the green enduring card from Dustmorn, the one that lets all your creatures tap for
Yeah,
mana. It's
yeah.
basically a Cryptolith Rite or something like that. It's like how those cards are functionally very similar, right? Like that one allows your creatures to tap for mana, the other one untaps all your mana dorks and your rocks and stuff. However, one comes back when it dies for
Yeah.
it comes back and keeps doing the thing. Unstoppable Plan doesn't even necessarily do that, and I don't know. It looks like skipping your turn 3 to me, and apparently it looked that way to everybody else too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see what it does in standard. It's still got plenty of time, but this is one of those combo pieces for a very specific deck and not like a generically powerful card. But
Yeah.
the next pick was my pick. My number 5 was Full Throttle this time around. It's 6 mana, gives you 2 extra attack steps. People were really into this card, and of course it's not going to, dude. You have to be in an aggro deck that wants to attack, and yet it's 6 mana. So of course the card saw no play. I hate to be pretentious, but come on.
Dude, I wanted this to be like, and I even have made deck lists where I wanted to try it. I was even playing a ramp deck, but then I was like, well, if I'm doing all this, why am I not just playing like Smuggler Surprise? You're
Yeah,
like I can just do bigger things other than just like try to set up a couple of attack steps, which is kind of sad because the card seems really cool. Just like I get 2 attack steps extra, like this is awesome.
wow.
But it just
Yeah.
never worked out like that.
Never really. I mean, if there was a way you could somehow cast this card for reduced costs and do a thing, it maybe, right? But I'm just not. I'm not really seeing it still. But I'd surprised that it's not a little bit more expensive. Again, in Commander, this is another one of those you'd think would be at least an Ish and Two Heavens is one. It'd be an important card for like tokens decks that want to assemble the Legion over and over. But
Yeah,
no,
I,
it's really not that expensive. It's like 350.
I think you're right though. But again, you're talking about maybe, you know, at best 2 or 3% of the decks out there would actually want to play this,
Right.
and they only
It's not
need
like
one
every
copy.
Commander deck wants it.
You know.
Agreed. Now, next, well, oh yeah, this is a good pick on your end. Number 3 was Oviya. You remember Oviya, the
Oh yeah,
Elvish
yeah,
Piper
yeah.
variant? Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's a surefire one. That's an A+ pick. Like
guaranteed. Yeah,
so many people, even today, are just like, "Oh, have you thought about putting this card in the deck?" Like, no, Avia's not
yeah.
good in standard.
It's like
Stop trying
Elvish.
to make fetch happen. It
Yeah,
ain't.
never gonna
Like,
happen. My hot take is that Elvish Piper was never actually good in any standard it was ever involved in. Like even in
ooh,
1998, I don't think that Elvish Piper was like a super playable card, dude. We were playing like Tinker and Yawma's Bargain and stuff. Were we playing Elvish Piper when Urza's Destiny came out?
I
Not
think
really.
when people
Like,
played it, you still only played 1 or 2 copies, just as like a,
yeah,
if I get it, it's cool, and I'm drawing some extra cards, I get some stuff for free, but you weren't really basing a deck around it, right? It's
no,
just
not really.
because you're getting such a small creature. Again, we talked about this in the underrated video, was that some cards you have to be doing more at your cost.
Yeah,
And at
yeah.
4 mana, it's
Or,
like, what am I getting for this? When
oh,
like, do I want to play this when my opponent's playing a Shieldred? You
right.
know what I mean?
Right.
Do I want to get
Biza
this when I could play any other green card that costs 4 right now?
right now, right. These like 4/4 trample haste guys or whatever. Like
Yeah.
there's
Oh,
a
Bullet
like
Kranos for 3 is better than this at 4.
this right, exactly. Like 4 mana is your like kind of if your opponent doesn't do anything about it, you win the game card. That's that slot in standard right now, whether it's Archfiend of the Dross or Sheldred or Biza. Like if your opponent resolves a 4 drop, it is of such high quality it must be dealt with or your
But there's
opponent
something
wins.
important there about those cards you're mentioning. There's even more things that can remove this 4 drop that can't remove those.
Exactly.
When
Like
a
this could be,
world of
can this
like,
not be like cut down or whatever? Like that's ridiculous.
yeah, nowhere to run,
Yep.
whatever. Like all that targets this card that doesn't kill the other 4 drops. So like you can't play it. And it's so easy just to ramp past to the thing you could just play anyway for free later. You know what I mean? Or for 1
Exactly.
mana or whatever, right?
Because usually you're only really getting 1 or 2 or 3 mana value out of the card, and you have to wait a
Yeah.
whole turn for it, and then it actually throws you off curve for that turn. And it's just, I don't know, man. I've never really loved Piper. That's not true. I liked Piper when Destiny came out, and I was like 12 years old. But I'm not you get a little older and you play Magic, you get some experience. You see that these cards aren't really all
You,
they're
you
cracked up to be.
A more
Just
recent
torch the
card
tower your
was
4 drop.
that's 5 mana. Was it 5 mana? Maybe 4 mana. The werewolf that you could tap, put other werewolves into play, and then you could untap it, whatever.
Oh yeah,
That
yeah,
almost never made the cut in my werewolf decks. So it's like,
yeah,
why? And
yeah.
that was technically better than this.
Yeah, like there was
Mhm.
a planeswalker in the werewolves deck. Yeah, the Arlen or whatever that puts like 2 wolves into play. But just like
Mhm.
I think people also need to realize that decks that want to attack often just can't play 4 drops. Like when's the last like mono red or Gruul deck you saw play a 4 drop? A
I,
Sunspine Lynx is in the board. That's it,
I don't
man.
think it's that you can't play 4s. I think you can't play undervalued 4s.
Yeah, it has to
You
be
have to play a
something.
real 4 or 5 power 4 mana thing.
Right. You have to pay like one of the juiciest things. What's that dude? He was on like your underrated list a few seasons ago. Bristlebud Farmer or something like that. He's like a
Oh yeah,
four
yeah,
mana
yeah.
five
That guy's a
five
four
makes
mana
two
five
foods.
five.
Yeah, he makes like 2 foods and he draws you cards sometimes, and that guy sees no play. You have to be so insanely good at 4 mana to see play.
Yeah.
And yeah, Oviya's not it's not cutting it. But my pick, and this is okay, so I think this is kind of a bad pick. I'm gonna throw that out there. But this deck has not really done much outside of MTGO. Mendicant Core Guidelight. So this is the 2 mana legend that gets an
Oh,
extra power for every artifact. So you see this guy. This guy does pop up from time to time. I will contend that his deck is not exactly A or B tier, even, but on MTGO towards the beginning of the season, Mendicant was popping up as well as Voyage Home and some of these other kind of affinity for artifacts cards. But I will say that ultimately, I don't think Mendicant is really like hung on this format, but I have seen this dude a bunch. So kind of wrong on this one.
Yeah, this one's a weird one, right? Because it has seen some play, but it hasn't been, like, critical even to the decks that it's in, right?
Not
It's just
really.
kind of another body for the most part, an efficient body, but even if I've had it in a couple decks where I've gotten to max speed and it's like, okay, once or twice I got to use its ability to actually copy something.
I've never
Like,
seen that ability used. Not once. I've seen the guy played like 7 or 8 times, never seen that ability used.
yeah, I had one good time where I actually got to copy the hover ship. So I was able to remove
Ooh,
2 blockers and
two
get an
things.
attack in for the win,
That's
but
gross.
that's kinda it, right? Like,
That's
that
a good
felt
that's a good memory. I like that.
yeah, that felt like the ceiling of, like, "This is what I'm gonna get to
Yeah,
do
that's what
with
this
this."
thing does. Hey,
So,
people were
yeah.
talking about copying simulacrum synthesizer with it, and I'm just like, I honestly don't think those cards go in the same deck. Like, I think this is more of a streamlined aggro zoetic glyph kind of card, whereas simulacrum synthesizer is more of a mid-range deck. And I think
But I am
ultimately I
gonna
was
give
right
you
about
credit
that.
here. As much as you're saying, like, you might have been wrong, we are looking at a card that at the time of recording, it was somewhere between 10 and $12, I think,
Yeah, it
$10-ish.
was really expensive.
You can pick these up for, like, a buck now.
Yeah, I'm surprised they're even that much. It's like
So,
it
you know
hasn't really impacted standard much, but this is the first card on this list that I've seen in a game of Magic on Arena. You know, like I guess Unstoppable Plan I've seen maybe once, but like Mendicant Core I've probably seen almost double digit times, but that is not like it didn't affect standard. That's not what
yeah.
that means. But still, it does have the distinction of being the first card I've seen like semi regularly of all our
Yeah,
overrated
but I think when
picks.
we're talking about stuff that's overrated, I think a $10 card that ends up not being that impactful that you
The
can pick up for a dollar and just over 2 months later, I think that qualifies for the list.
yeah, even given pre-release prices, that's pretty precipitous drop. But
Yeah,
last thing I'll say about this dude is that like when I do see him, even though I see him, when I do see him, I have never once been like afraid of him. Like, he's
exactly.
pretty easily removable. Is who cares, you know? So just I guess it's not that I'm 100% wrong. It's just that like I have seen the boy on the streets.
That's
So
fair. That's fair.
your next pick, and this is I feel like this one is kind of the same as my last pick in terms of like how much play it's actually seen,
Okay.
was Riptide Gearhulk.
Yeah.
So this doesn't necessarily have like a deck, but like it shows up from time to time. You see it on the arena, right?
And that's sort of how I felt about it, right? I think even at the time I said it's going to be played and it's going to be playable, but for as expensive as it was,
Yeah.
how much do we expect to see it? Because
It
at
is
one
another
point this
one.
thing was going for like $20.
Yep.
And it was
I was gonna
like,
say this was almost like chase rare in the set for a second during previous season.
yeah, and I'm just like, okay, how many for me, if a card is $20 plus, it should be a card that's going to show up in at least three of what we'll call between the tier 1 and 2 decks or whatever,
Mm.
right? And literally we kind of had 1.5-ish decks, like any of the Azorius control decks were trying to play it,
Yeah, they
and
were.
then the
Yeah,
synthesizer decks were playing it. And
yeah.
not even all the synth I saw a lot that weren't playing it.
Same,
So
same.
so it wasn't even a staple in the deck that would make sense for it to be in. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah,
yeah.
synthesizer made the most sense, and I think we even made that point at the time. The synthesizer could play this easily, but you got to stop playing unstable glyph bridge because how many fives are you actually going to play in that deck? So like even in the synthesizer deck, there's like reasons you might not play it. And you're right. As the season went on, I saw less and less of this card, not only in the arena but in MTGO league results and challenge results. So this one, the playability fell off some, but if memory serves, your point was that it probably doesn't have a deck right now, and it will eventually maybe have some sort of
Yeah.
mid-range deck. And I still agree with that point wholeheartedly. Like maybe this card's time just hasn't come. It has to wait on rotation because it is a really strong card.
Yeah,
Um,
it's hard to turn your nose up at it. It's a lot of value for 5 mana, but
yeah,
right now it just isn't showing up anywhere.
nope. And we'll see if it ever does, but if it doesn't, I guess I won't be like super surprised. But
Yeah.
it's a strong card. Now, next, I think my pick is the most wrong either one of us were about a card.
Okay.
So it's the Speed Demon. Now,
Mm.
this has shown up.
Yeah.
I'll say that Unholy Annex has kind of dropped off a little bit as the season's gone on. I think that in some ways the Pixie decks have helped to drive these big mid-range decks out of the format because they just tempo them out and they return all their stuff to their hand. and you can't really play 5 drops against Pixie, you know. So this deck has a natural predator. But all that said, you know, we saw a good bit of the Speed Demon when Unholy Annex decks do pop up in MTGO leagues and challenges. They'll often play the one or two of Speed Demons. So this did kind of become a premier card in specifically a Demons deck, but I've seen it pop up in other mid-range lists in the arena from time to time too. And obviously it's kind of a commander star. This I don't believe is lost proportionally as much value price-wise as some of the other
Yeah.
cards we've looked at. So yeah, I think if I had to take an L on anything on this list, it would be the Speed Demon.
That's fair. It's like a
Yeah.
soft L though. It's like it wouldn't be an F. It would be like a, you know, the schools that still do D's. You'd be a D. You know, like because honestly, it's still a good card ish, right? We like we talked about, it has the right numbers. It still makes sense, but how many decks need this card? You know, I
Yeah.
think is the problem. But I mean, I'm with you. I probably have seen it a handful of times when I'm playing on the ladder. I've seen it in 1 or 2 lists, but like you're saying, it's usually a one of a lot of the
Yeah.
times. So like it's still playable, still gets played, but you know, not hype worthy.
Yeah, I've seen some decks that like, oh, if we would have played Aclazotz last season, we'll just slot in the Speed Demon instead because we're
Yeah.
playing Annex. And I've seen like obvious deck building choices like that, but I was surprised, even into the season, you know, 3-4 weeks into the season, how much this was still kind of showing up in league results. So again, I will gracefully take the L on that one. I think my point at the time was that, you know, it's not as crazy as everyone was making it out to be. And I do feel like Speed Demons was one of the cards from Aetherdrift people were hyping the most. But again, I still feel like if either of us were wrong about a thing, it was that card.
Hey, it's all right. For people who hadn't watched it yet, I had to take one on the underrated card. So
It
you
happens.
know, it's
I
fair.
took a couple, but you know, neither one of us can see the future. So, but your pick next was a good one. This was Guardian Sunmare,
Yeah.
the horse.
Yeah.
The horse that can get stuff back or whatever it is, the 3 mana stuff.
Dude, here's what's crazy. I played a couple of different mounts and vehicles decks through the season. And even when I got it, it was nice, but it didn't feel necessary.
Yeah.
You know, which is weird because again, the deck it should go in, that it makes sense and you can take advantage of it. It was just kind of like, all right, this is solid when I get it. It's cool. But like I could also have a lot of other cards in the spot and feel just as okay.
Yeah, I could just,
You know?
especially the Selesnya mounts deck. It's like, oh, I can just decrease my curve and this deck will be better.
Yeah, or
You know,
or
like,
you could just play other big things at 5 mana, right? Like you could play other planeswalkers and things or whatever if you wanted to and get just as much use or value. So
or more,
yeah,
right?
you
So
know.
like every time I built mounts, it topped out of the 4 mana guy, Caldera or whatever his name is.
Mhm.
It's like as far as 5 in a mounts deck, you're right. I just never really felt there was a necessity for this card. I never felt that it did enough when it did hit, right? Because I've gotten a couple of reps in with this, and it's just always kind of, I don't want to not learn my lesson here. Because right on the speed demon, I was like, well, 5 drops, you know, you got to be really good to be a 5 drop, and the speed demon ends up seeing play. And I feel like I want to not learn my lesson and say, well, you know, Guardian Sunmare is a 5 drop. There's a big difference between this and the speed demon. You have to wait some time for this to give you the value. It's actually not giving you that much value when you actually get it, and it might not even give you the value when the time comes for it to happen. So there's just kind of too many like stops on this card for it to truly be impactful, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's sort of where I was at is like I was getting value, but sometimes it felt like I was probably already winning when I was.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
like,
Win
okay,
more.
or you got rid of it. I got something nominal, some other creature. But even now, we have ways to protect things and give stuff hexproof or indestructible or whatever. So, like, if it's almost any one of those cards, I'm kind of okay too. So,
Yep.
it's neat, but I don't know what we'd really do with it. You know,
It's like my best experience with this card are kind of like a medium reanimator or tutor spell, you know, like
Mhm.
it's fine, but is it worth that much? You know,
And also another one that you can pick up for 75 cents now.
look at that.
You
It
know,
was
where
probably
at the time we
$10 when we talked
recorded, it
about
was
it.
like $6, I think,
Yeah.
something
Yeah,
like that.
people were
$7.
actually, it was good to go on the overrated because people were hyped about the horse, but like,
Yeah,
nah, you were right. I say nay.
yeah.
the
There you
horse.
go.
But my next pick, and we've only got one pick after this, was Bloodghast, which has kind of done diddly poop. So I guess I was
Yeah.
justified by that. Even I've seen aristocrats pop up. This sort of 2 drops only raise the pass deck on MTGO leagues. And obviously it's all over the arena. People really like that deck, but it's now transcending into MTGO leagues, and Aetherdrift cards are a part of that. Gas Guzzler and Zahur Glory's Past. These are cards that mattered in Aristocrats and have kind of strengthened it. This, not really. Bloodghast really has not played that much of a part in Aristocrats being a real deck. And it still kind of isn't. It's very much like C tier, but at least it shows up now. Bloodghast, on the other hand, doesn't. So
this again comes back to, at the time we make the list, right? Like we were talking about Bloodghast being around a $10 card. And I think one of the things we even mentioned, if I remember right, was, hey, this was great once upon a time when it was printed.
right.
The standard environment now is not what it was then, right?
Yeah, I
Having a
think that's
creature that can't block, against these hyper aggro decks, having a small creature that also gets blocked by everything, like you would need, and I played it in 1 or 2 decks where I was using some different stuff to get creatures back recurring and doing some silly things with like Alesha and things like that, which was
yeah,
pretty cool.
that's cool.
But you need a very niche deck to take advantage of it. It wasn't going to be like it was way back when, showing up in 5 different decks or whatever.
Right.
It just
Back
isn't that time.
when this was originally played, we were a much more value driven sort of standard format. I'm not saying we're not value driven now. It's just the value's freaking nuts that the amount of value you generate within the first 3 turns of the game is nowhere near, as low as it was when Bloodghast was a card, and throughout the game for that matter. It feels like in standard right now, once you get to turn 6 or 7, if there's a mid-range deck you're playing against, they've already got this ridiculous value engine up, or they're drawing a bunch of cards or whatever. And we just didn't have value engines at that level at the time. And just a guy that can come, dude, this is a creature that can come back. That was amazing back then. It's really not what it used to be.
But
and,
not just that, we have a lot of exile removal now too. You're talking about
so much.
Anoint with Affliction,
Torch
Elspeth
the
Smite.
Tower.
Yeah, like you name it. Right? There's a bunch of ways to just like get these things out permanently, which didn't exist when you were trying to play it before. And I think that's played into it. We're talking about it was over $10 when we were back talking about it, a couple months back.
Yeah.
Now you can get these things for under under $1.50 on a lot of sites.
Yeah. It's like Bloodghast will always be a somewhat powerful commander card for Aristocrats decks because it sets up combos and stuff. But it's just, even then, it doesn't do that very well compared to like Bloodsoaked Champion and some other cards you could be using. But one way or the other, Bloodghast has its place in Magic history. But as we posited at the time, this is a lesson in like not everything that was good 10 years ago is still going to be good. So we'll see if Bloodghast ever does a thing, but the problem with this in Aristocrats is that you only have 60 slots in your deck and 22 of them are lands. So do you have better cards than this in Aristocrats? Yeah.
I will say, and I guess this is some foreshadowing, but there is a card in the new set that you can use it with. So they probably want to watch one of our other videos talking about Dragonstorm to find out.
I want to know. So, with that in mind, I guess we should go ahead and do what was both of our number 1. And that way we can get to record those videos and I can figure out what you're talking about because I'm intrigued. But number 1 for both of us was Radiant Lotus. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
I have seen this on precisely 1 MTGO challenge. Now, the deck was in the top 8. So I think that matters. But one time, I saw this was in a repurposing bay synthesizer boom mobile thing that had this weird like combo with boom mobile and Radiant Lotus. Yeah. Okay. So very hard to explain. Very Rube Goldberg machine.
Sack
type
everything,
deck.
get a pile of mana, blow your opponent up with the boom mobile.
And like somehow that never really took off, probably because it's like really wonky and complex. But that deck seemed very cool. Only saw it once. That is the one iteration of Radiant Lotus I've seen all season. Haven't seen it on the arena.
It's been 0.
No one
me.
has resolved this. Yeah. No one has resolved this card against me, which I'm kind of surprised. I haven't even seen it on the other side of the table.
Yeah, it's one of the cards one of 2 cards I definitely really felt justified and somewhat vindicated on out of set. Because I still think for older formats, there's probably still some good use for the Radiant Lotus. Maybe at some weird point in the future, there could be in standard as well. I mean, we do now have Mox Jasper, I think it is, or whatever, that you could play just as a 0 cost for value with it. I don't know. Maybe there's something. But as it stands right now for this last season, definitely not playable. And the other card for me, which we did make our list, but I talked a lot about it and people thought I was crazy, was the Aetherspark.
Oh, yeah. And like, I haven't seen that card once.
I've seen it a couple of times, but it really didn't do much to affect the games. So,
Man.
you know.
It's like, I know that this is true of most pre-release prices, right? So this isn't the most fair assessment in the world, but if you go to TCG Player and you look at the 3-month map for Radiant Lotus, it's $6. Market price $6. That is a drop of 90% over 3 months. It was close to $60 when it first released. That's wild. And I'm sure similar thing has happened to the Aetherspark as we bring that card
Oh yeah,
up,
people were
because
paying like $70 for Aetherspark
people were
when we made the video. You can get them
people
for
were
20-30 bucks now.
Yep. And I don't even think that that's one that's seen much play in Commander, which was the format everyone was kind of excited about it for. But the Aetherspark was one of those cards people were holding their breath about. Like, I don't know, it could be good, but I'm not sure how much people really expected
You
from
know
it.
what though?
You know,
Same thing. When I ask people, what does the deck look like that the card is in? Nobody has an answer.
what does it do? Right.
Yeah.
And yeah, Aetherspark I feel like it suffered even more from that than Radiant Lotus. You could make a case that Radiant Lotus and Aetherspark are generically powerful cards, but they still need somewhere to plug in, and
I will
they
say
just
this
don't have it.
for the Aetherspark though, at least it can still go into like +1/+1 counter decks and Commander and whatever. Like, has some built-in places where it still does stuff, and I get why people would want it. It at least
Yeah.
does something. But the Lotus, you have to set up a whole thing to get any value out of it. And if they wreck any part of it in the process or counter any one thing,
Yeah.
you don't have much going on.
There's the whole house of cards. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I think that good call on this, but honestly, I don't think that, like, we both called this, but I don't think that it takes that much to call that this was overrated. You know what I mean?
No, it definitely didn't.
It's cute that now in Standard, when this new set comes out, you can play Moxen and Lotuses in your deck. I think it's very clever that Standard includes both of them, but they're both, which is a good call. They're both kind of not great cards, I think. Which design wise, Wizards wise, is probably a good decision on their part. But they generated the right amount of hype with Radiant Lotus, and now I wouldn't be surprised if in 3 months people just like more or less completely forgot this card even existed in the first place. So,
oh yeah,
good call, both of us. But I feel like we didn't take quite as many hits.
No, we did
on
pretty
this
well
list.
on this. Actually, we did pretty well overall on both lists. To
on
be
both,
honest,
yeah, we kind of did. Again, I feel like the one missed call was maybe the Speed Demon, but ultimately, there's always going to be certain cards every season that people go goo-goo over, and they're never going to be quite as good as you want them to be, and they often fall into one of the categories we've discussed today. Whether they're too expensive to cast, or they do something that looks broken, like make all this mana, Radiant Lotus, or untap all your guys, Unstoppable Plan, right? Your deck needs to, and you've made this point a few times, what does the deck do? What does the deck built around it look like? And I just don't know that we were able to answer that question with any of these cards, apart from the Speed Demon. Yeah.
So yeah, I will say this. I mean, I was thinking when we started doing this, it would be one of those things that, oh man, if we get at least like 50-60% right, it'd be cool. But I think we did better on both of them, to be honest.
Yeah, honestly, we crushed that percentage. I think we were like 90-something%.
Yeah,
right.
So that's pretty good.
Not bad. But we are going to start recording now our other little batch of videos. We have got so much to do together, and I know that you guys just can't get enough of us hanging out. So
yeah,
if you
let us know if you like this type of review video, because we're just doing this to see if y'all really appreciate this and this is what y'all wanted.
Yeah, we're down to do it again anytime, man. Honestly, these last couple of videos, it was fun to record just to relive the old days of 3 months ago. And it's like, what did we say? It's like, sometimes a content creator needs a reminder of what exactly they said even. So anyway, hope you guys liked it. Just let us know how you felt about all these picks. If you kind of disagree with how we feel we did, then I want to know about that too. And I'm sure he does too. But in any case, where can they find you? Because I'm sure they want to head directly over. Wait. Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to remember what channel we were on again this time. It's just kind of going to get me every time. If you tell them where to find you, because I'm sure they want to find you if they haven't yet.
Oh, easy to find me at Powrdragn, POWRDRAGN, where we have literally content every single day, usually 1 to 1.5 videos. And we just completed like 3 weeks ago 5 years of consecutive videos on Standard, or actually on YouTube. I said on Standard, but yeah.
Congratulations, by the way. That's got to be the longest running streak in the business. So
Yeah, it's
if you're not
insane.
watching, if you're not watching Powrdragn yet, go on over to his channel. I'll leave a link in the description to make it easy for you. If you're not subbed to him yet, he's the probably first best Magic YouTuber to be subbed to. I was going to make a joke and be like second best because your boy, but no, he's better than me. But anyway, that's all we've got for this one, guys. We will see you again very soon with the over and underrated lists. Another reason you should be subbed to his channel if you want to see that. But anyway, just do all the YouTube stuff on your way out. Make sure you like the video. It's the button shaped like a thumb. You could also subscribe to the sandwich if you're into it. And you can check out the Patreon $1 a month to vote on content. That's all I've got, though. So I will catch you cats later. For Powrdragn, I am Dev from The Place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.